studios in New York, here again is Stone Phillips.
Cole Porter once wrote, "Birds do it, bees do it, even educated fleas do it." It is falling in love, and it is something people spend decades trying to do. Can anyone explain why we fall for someone? Why we think some people have sex appeal while others don't? Tonight, some new discoveries about the elements of attraction. Here's Dennis Murphy.
Her name is Amber, and she is a hot face of the moment. Vogue cover girl, Paris catwalks, Broadway billboards. Amber Valletta is a beautiful woman. But stop for a second and think. What is it about her exactly that dazzles us? Can you analyze her beauty under a microscope? Bombard it with electrons to find its secret? Not quite that, but as you're about to see, researchers are doing something close.
You have high degree of symmetry on the two sides of the face.
Take, for instance, Randy Thornhill, an evolutionary biologist at the University of New Mexico. He is one of a growing number of scientists who believe that beauty is our species' way of advertising good health.
We place landmark points on the face.
Thornhill has spent years carefully studying beautiful faces. He measures the placement of the eyes, the cheeks, the mouth. To him, beauty equals symmetry.
I'm measuring the length of this ear.
That's not to say everyone isn't symmetrical. All of us have ears roughly in the right place, an eye on each side of our nose, but Thornhill holds beauty to a higher standard. He measures facial symmetry down to the millimeter.
This face is unusually symmetrical.
For example, when he saw Amber's face on this magazine cover, Thornhill concluded she was as close to symmetrical perfection as you can get. And that's just the beginning.
She shows remarkable hormone markers in her face, high estrogen markers.
He thinks Amber has just dynamite hormone markers. The small lower face, the large lips.
That's saying high estrogen, low testosterone. At another level, it's saying high fertility. At another level, it is saying, I've got a great immune system.
In other words, to these scientists, a beautiful human face is a little like birds showing their plumage. A billboard that says, "I'm fit and fertile, check me out."
Unforgettable.
For instance, consider some classic plumage. Audrey, Grace, Michelle. Scientists are convinced they all share universal features, traits that have a subliminal message of health.
Well, it's a popular subject.
Nancy Etkoff is a neuropsychologist at Harvard Medical School. She says we're programmed to look for these features because they tell us a person is a fertile mate.
Don't forget that we evolved from millions of years ago, in which this kind of strategy probably made a lot of sense.
So the mating ritual that takes place all across the world on Fridays and Saturday nights in this country, you're saying the guy is really looking for the right receptor of genetic material?
Absolutely, absolutely. And if he knew it, he'd be horrified.
And what about the women? What are they looking for? Researchers find that women think the classic big chin and lantern jaw. No surprise, the movie star's face is most attractive and therefore most healthy. But maybe you're thinking, hang on a second. If we all agree on these so-called universal markers of beauty, then how come our taste has changed so much through the centuries? Take Rubens' plump beauties. No skinny mini supermodels these. Or Marilyn Monroe, a fantasy for the 50s, but maybe a dress size too large on the 90s Sharon Stone index. Pencil-thin Twiggy back when, hard-body Naomi Campbell, waif-like Kate Moss. Beautiful women, but all quite different, which may leave you scratching your head wondering, what's so universal about all this? Well, this man says he's got the answer. Evolutionary psychologist Dev Singh at the University of Texas. He spent his career searching for a common link in beautiful people. And to him, it's much more than a pretty face.
If you look at a couple of hundred years of songs and poetry, there are odes and verses to beautiful eyes, beautiful face, beautiful lips. You look a little further south.
Yes. I look down to the body.
You study hips.
I study waist and hip. It's kind of important that it's a relationship between the waist and hip, not in isolation.
Dev Singh is a waist-to-hip man. You get this ratio he's talking about when you divide a woman's waist measurement by her hips. fraction that results is what Dev Singh calls his magic number. And in his mind, perfection is as close to a 0.7 as you can get.
So if a man goes looking for a perfect 10, you'd advise me better off be looking for a perfect 7.
0.7.
0.7.
Yeah.
Because then he's found what?
He has found, assuming he's looking for a mate, he has found just about a perfect mate.
Perfect, he says, because women with an hourglass figure are healthier. Healthier? Come on, can a 0.7 waist-to-hip ratio really tell a woman anything about her risk of disease?
But in fact, it does. Medical studies have found that, in fact, that's a healthier body in a woman than a 0.8 or a 0.9. That the larger the ratio is, the more likely someone is to suffer from diabetes or heart disease.
So Scarlett O'Hara was really onto something.
She was not only onto it, she was flaunting it with her tight lacing.
Woo! Just hold on and suck in.
What Scarlett O'Hara was telling the beaus was, this is fertile.
Yes, and Scarlett was doing something that people do all the time, is she was taking the cues and then ratcheting it up a little bit. She was flaunting and exaggerating.
If you're still doubting this waist-to-hip stuff, take a second look at those beauties who seem so different. Marilyn Monroe, for starters. Her measurements were 36, 24, 36. Divide the waist by the hips and you get, voila, 0.66. Twiggy's measurements in the 60s were 31, 22, 32. Do the math, and you get 0.69. And then Kate Moss, Naomi Campbell, they're all right in that 0.7 range. And by Dev Singh's theory, that makes them very attractive to men's hunter-gatherer brains.
And that is the woman, 0.7, very tight number. That's the one everybody wants.
And he means everybody, not just American men, but men he's tested in other cultures too. So we were curious, what about Amber Valletta, our supermodel? Well, her measurements are 34, 24, 34. Divide the waist by the hips, and you get a perfect 0.7. Amber is 2 for 2 with our scientists. But still, not everyone buys their theories.
I'm too sexy for my shirt.
Some experts think that our concept of beauty is shaped not so much by our brain's hard wiring as by the ad world's hard sell. After all, we're just bombarded by so many long legs, big busts, and high cheekbones that it's hard to deny the power of Madison Avenue. Or is it? Take a look at this. Here at the University of Texas, a psychologist got the novel idea to test tiny babies, infants who've never flipped through a fashion magazine.
You went to your academic department and said, I want to test whether 3 6-month-old babies will look at a pretty face and react to it.
Yes, and everyone laughed. And I even laughed. I know it's preposterous, but let's follow this all the way to the end.
Dr. Judith Langlois tests the babies with their mothers, but makes the moms wear blindfolds so they won't influence their children. Then she quickly flashes faces in front of them.
You show them a picture that your jury has decided is an attractive face.
Right.
You show them a picture that's less attractive.
Right. And they look significantly longer at the attractive faces than at the unattractive faces. It's not that they refuse to look at the unattractive faces, but they like the attractive faces.
Babies, who you'd think couldn't tell the difference between Big Bird and Brigitte Bardot, are actually drawn like a magnet to a pretty face. And what about Amber? We wanted to see the baby's reaction to her. And guess what?
Did the babies like that model's face?
They did.
They liked Amber?
Yes, they did. They looked at Amber a long time relative to the other face.
That didn't surprise you?
Not at all. We've done this over and over again.
So we do judge a book by its cover.
Absolutely.
This is cruel.
It's very cruel.
But this is what science is telling us?
Yes, absolutely. And what does this say about human nature? Well, it doesn't say anything terribly nice, but is it the job of science to make people feel good? Well, no. The job of science is to try to understand people and try to uncover facts about people.
But can science alone explain why we find another person beautiful? Even a Vogue model like Amber, blessed with a lucky genetic draw, knows that there's more to human attraction than biology.
I mean, the most attractive people to me are the people who are the most shiny and happy and genuine and good on the inside.
And so, in the end, even though we humans may go gaga over hormone markers like Amber's, keep it all in perspective. Everybody knows that what really counts in a mate is a lot more than a good set of genes.
In conclusion, a warning. While symmetrical men may be considered healthier and better biologically,
We need the resources and resolve of our